Let's just breathe. Even though I held her close, I kissed her our last kiss.
Okay, grab your flannels, tune your guitars, and maybe even pour yourself a shot of espresso, because we are about to spill some hot, messy, grunge-flavored tea on the baddest, moodiest, most flannel-wrapped rock band of the 90s. And unless you've been cryogenically frozen since 1991 or hiding under a pile of Nirvana CDs, you know exactly who we're talking about. That's right, Pearl freaking Jam.
Like, wow, I'm in the best band in the world right now. And not as it from an egotistical standpoint, but like I'm playing with all these guys right now.
I mean, did these Seattle boys really try to go toe-to-toe with the biggest corporate monster in music? Why did they suddenly ghost the music video scene just when MTV was blowing up? And most importantly, what Kardashians' moves were they pulling behind the scenes that got Rolling Stone side-eyeing them like, y'all good? Or are you actively just trying to ruin your career? Their words, not mine. Well, let's get into the absolute scandalous life of Pearl Jam. Cause this channel might not be on stage wailing into a mic, but one thing we're always ready to spill is some tea. But before we get into all their jaw-dropping secrets and how this band managed to sell over 100 million albums worldwide, let's hit rewind and talk about how Pearl Jam even became a thing. In 1987, Stone Gossard and Jeff Ament went out here doing their rocker thing, teaming up with this charismatic, wild-voiced frontman named Andrew Wood. Together, they formed a band called Mother Love Bone, which honestly sounds like the name of a psychedelic shampoo. But whatever, it worked. In 1990, they dropped their debut album, Apple. But hold up, don't get too attached, because tragedy came in like a wrecking ball.
We actually ended up getting a deal with Polygram and put a couple records out, an EP and an album, and our singer died of a heroin overdose.
Just 4 months after the album dropped, Andrew tragically passed away from a heroin overdose.
I had a couple songs written specifically for Andrew Wood of Mother Love Bone. That was Say Hello to Heaven and Reach Down.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. Not only did Stone and Jeff lose their friend, but that was also the end of their band before it ever got a real chance to blow up. Sad, right? But don't pack up the guitars just yet, because here comes the comeback. A few months later, Stone and Jeff linked back up. Cause duh, the music itch never dies. And this time they brought in a new player, Seattle guitar wizard Mike McCready, whose own band, Shadow, had just fizzled out.
I ended up playing with a really good friend of mine in town named Mike McCready, who is now our guitar player.
Now listen, when you've got three emotionally bruised but super talented dudes in one room, there's only one logical move. Start a band and hope the rock gods are listening. So what did they do? They recorded a 5-song demo tape and started hunting for 2 more puzzle pieces, a lead singer and a drummer. And here's where things go from "aw, how sweet" to "oh my God." After trying but failing to recruit former Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer Jack Irons, he gave them something even more precious than, dare I say, himself. Yes, his friend Eddie Vedder.
Stone and Jeff asked him if he wanted to play drums. He couldn't because of 11, but I got a call to try singing.
And if you're wondering why I'm acting like this dude's dipped in 24 karat gold, chill, because we're about to get into that tea in a sec. Eddie was fresh off a stint with his old San Diego band, Bad Radio. And trust me, this man had pipes. He heard the demo, vibed with it hard, and in a straight-up movie moment, recorded vocals to 3 tracks, Alive, Once, and Footsteps, and sent it right back like, boom, here's your missing magic. But before we even get into the history of Alive and why the song is so powerful, let's talk about how Eddie literally had the trio's mind blown. They flew him in for an audition and he finally joined the band as their lead vocalist. And boom, just like that, Pearl Jam was formed with the addition of Dave Cruzen as their drummer. In 1991, Pearl Jam signed to Epic Records, and by March, the boys were ready to record their debut album, 10, which, let's be real, would end up being the soundtrack to every moody teen in the 90s. But when something big is coming, you just know the devil be playing. In May, just when things were coming together, their drummer, Dave Cruzen, was like, you know what, let me go ahead and check myself into rehab real quick. Now listen, we love a man prioritizing his mental health, but also the timing, a little chaotic. So now the band's got a studio, a record deal, and no drummer. But no worries, cause enter Matt Chamberlain, who came in, smashed a few shows, but unfortunately also left them to join the Saturday Live. But third time's a charm, they say. Dave Abruzzi's replaced Matt, and this time, my man was here to stay. On August 27, 1991, Pearl Jam dropped their debut album, 10. And let me tell you, these Seattle boys did not come to play. They pulled up like moody grunge prophets, preaching about all the things nobody in pop music was trying to touch: depression, suicide, loneliness, murder. Basically, if your soul was going through it, 10 was your unofficial therapist. And with hits like Alive, yes, the song that Eddie penned, Even Flow, and Jeremy, the album didn't just chart. It camped out on the Billboard charts for nearly 5 years, going 13 times platinum. Woohoo!
Real success that I ever had in the music business, and it was a fun time, it was an exciting time. It changed my life.
But let's get into the history of some of their hit singles for a minute, cause trust me, those rock songs have a way deeper meaning than you think. And what better place to start than with Eddie's Alive? Apparently, the song is sort of a semi-autobiography with a little bit of fiction. The song tells the story of a teenage boy finding out his stepdad isn't really his dad. And then, brace yourself, his grieving mother allegedly starts turning to him for emotional and, even physical comfort. But here's what people didn't know. The song was actually based on Eddie's very own childhood. Now hold up, not the mom starting to embrace her son part, that'd have been wild. I'm talking about the whole him not knowing that his stepdad wasn't his dad. He grew up believing his biological dad was just a family friend, and unfortunately, he wouldn't discover the truth until the man died. But wait, it gets worse, because if you think that was a lie, let's talk about Jeremy. So the song is based on a real-life 15-year-old high school student who was bullied to the point of no return and tragically shot himself in front of his entire class. And let's be real, bullying is still one of those things folks don't talk about enough.
Every other second, every 30 seconds, I think, it's a kid that kills himself.
Cause child, if somebody bullies my kid, yeah, I'm showing up to your house in a bonnet and house slippers, ready for a throwdown with your mama. Now, since we're already crying and flannel over Jeremy, let's go ahead and spill why that emotional gut punch of a song also became Pearl Jam's last music video for a long time. So here's the deal. The original video for Jeremy was deep, but there was one teeny tiny explosive problem: the ending. Yup, the moment where Jeremy puts a gun to his mouth? Yeah, MTV and the censor police were like, oh, absolutely not. Y'all better PG-13 that tragedy real quick. So what did Pearl Jam do? They were compelled to water down the real event. But here's the thing. In doing that, the whole point of the video got lost. Folks started misinterpreting the storyline. Some even thought Jeremy hurt his classmates instead of himself. And trust me, Pearl Jam did not like that. They were heated. And they basically went, if we can't make videos that depict the real events, yeah, we'd just not make any. And let me tell you, after the release of 10, our boys were everywhere. They felt like the pressure of fame was getting to them, and the last thing they needed was their faces blasted all over every TV like they're the Backstreet Boys of grunge anyway. And to further buttress their point, Eddie felt the visual representation provided by music videos actually robbed the listeners from using their imagination, taking away the ability to create their own interpretations of the song.
It's definitely something that you interpret in different ways. That's probably the beauty of it.
And not gonna lie, the man's got a point.
Very first time you heard a song, it was with these visual images attached, and it robbed you of, again, this kind of any form of self-expression.
All right, let's talk about that one scandal that made headlines and infuriated the whole music industry in the 90s. Yup, I'm talking about the time Pearl Jam called out Ticketmaster. So it's 1994 and our flannel-wrapped heroes were riding high. But then they noticed something funny. Tickets were getting pricey. Like, why am I paying half my rent to see a band pricey? Turns out the ticket vendor Ticketmaster was tacking on these sneaky little service fees that had fans coughing up extra coins for no good reason.
Many Pearl Jam fans are teenagers who do not have the money to pay $30 or more that it's often charged for tickets today.
And let me tell you right now, when it comes to their fans, Pearl Jam don't play. Now you must be wondering, why was Ticketmaster so important to Pearl Jam's concerts? Well, they controlled most major venues in America. Talk about monopoly at its finest.
It is this incestuous relationship and the lack of any national competition for Ticketmaster that has created the situation we're dealing with today.
So to host any meaningful concert, Pearl Jam kinda needed them. But trust me, Pearl Jam wasn't about to just back down. After Ticketmaster refused to waive their service charge, Pearl Jam was like, all right, bet. If we can't host our concert in venues, we just use outdoor stadiums. But let me tell you, they don't call Ticketmaster a giant for nothing, cause Pearl Jam's ability to host effective concerts without them seemed to be almost close to impossible. And after trying to sue Ticketmaster and losing, the boys canceled their 1994 summer tour in protest.
Pearl Jam has accused Ticketmaster of being a monopoly and of using its power to scuttle a summer tour the band had planned.
But don't think Pearl Jam was about to give up just yet, because not only was the journey far from over, but it also almost led to the downfall of Pearl Jam's career. After 1994, Pearl Jam tried their very best to boycott Ticketmaster. But let's be real, it started affecting their concerts and the convenience for their fans to just turn up for their shows. And let's be honest, at this point, you just know somebody in that band was definitely giving side-eye like, so we just not gonna tour? We really giving up the bag for these moral victories? And in this case, it was Dave the drummer. He wasn't feeling the whole rebellion against Ticketmaster, and the group ended up firing him. And who strolls in as his replacement? Surprise, surprise, the same Jack Irons that wasn't initially interested in joining the group. But let me tell you, by 1998, even Jack was over it. He was like, this tour situation is messier than a Love and Hip Hop reunion, and I did not sign up for this. So guess what? He dipped too. Finally, after losing 2 bandmates and many complaints from fans, Pearl Jam had to have a come-to-Jesus moment. And they realized one thing: you can't beat the giants in the industry. They eventually gave in and started using Ticketmaster venues again. And seriously, name one of your faves today who would risk losing 2 bandmates, cancel a whole damn tour, and basically light their own career on fire all for their fans. I'll wait. Now listen, Pearl Jam may have gone to war with Ticketmaster for their fans, but not even their die-hard loyalty could shield them from the tragedy that struck in the year 2000. On June 30th, at Denmark's Roskilde Festival, things took a horrifying turn. 9 fans were crushed and suffocated to death during their set.
We understand the depth of loss, and we'll always just be so sorry for the tragic.
And yeah, as grim as it is, people dying at concerts sadly isn't unheard of. But let's unpack the chaos of this mess. The band was mid-performance, vibing, probably giving it their all, when the crowd just surged toward the stage like a human tsunami. Security was overwhelmed, and the energy went from hype to horrifying real fast. At this point, Pearl Jam had stopped performing, basically just begging the crowd to step back. But by the time those pleas got through, the damage was already done. They immediately canceled the rest of their European tour. But let's be honest, that didn't even begin to touch the trauma they were carrying. The boys were this close to calling it quits entirely. And honestly, can you blame them? After fighting Ticketmaster, losing bandmates, and then witnessing something that tragic, who wouldn't rethink everything? But after all the chaos, the lawsuits, and the corporate beef, what exactly is Pearl Jam up to in 2025? Oh, they're still outside rocking stages and snatching edges like it's 1992 all over again. These grungy legends kicked off their Dark Matter tour on April 24th, 2025, right in Hollywood. Because if you're gonna make a comeback, you might as well do it where the drama lives. And not only are they blessing the world with nostalgic I remember when moments, but trust me, they are getting paid while doing it. Like rich. As of 2025, Pearl Jam's collective net worth is sitting pretty at over $300 million. All that plaid angst and rebellion, apparently it adds up. And Eddie Vedder? Eddie is straight chillin' with a cool 100 million to his name. You know, for a man who once hated fame so bad he basically ghosted MTV, the math is mathin' and it's luxurious. So when it's all said and done, what's Pearl Jam gonna be remembered for? It's the heart, the loyalty, and the pure unbothered audacity. They sang about the stuff everybody else was too scared to even whisper. They rode for their fans like it was a gang initiation, and most importantly, they survived the fame game without selling their souls. I guess they don't need to thank Beyonce. And that, child, is how you keep it grunge, messy, legendary, and just a little bit scandalous.